The pie flew through the air. Every man in the Broken Star Ranch kitchen jumped back as Clara Belle caught the hot iron pan with her bare hands and dropped it onto the long wooden table. For 1 second, nobody spoke. Then a young cowboy laughed. "That woman is bigger than the kitchen door," he said. A few others laughed with him. Clara heard every word. Her face turned red, but she did not cry. Instead, she grabbed a wooden spoon, dipped it into the bubbling stew, and threw a spoonful onto the cowboy's empty plate. "Eat," she said. The laughter stopped. The rancher standing near the door stared at her. His name was Daniel Reed. He was tall, quiet, and dressed in dusty boots, dark trousers, and a worn brown coat. A silver star hung from an old nail beside the kitchen door, and a rifle rested against the wall. Outside, horses moved in the cold wind while the wide Texas grasslands disappeared into the evening dust. Daniel looked at the plate. Then he looked at Clara. The young cowboy slowly tasted the stew. His eyes widened. "Well?" Daniel asked. The cowboy swallowed. "Best stew I ever ate." Now everyone stared at Clara again, but this time no one laughed. Clara quickly looked away. She had heard kind words before. They never lasted. Daniel stepped closer. "What is your name?" "Clara Belle." "And what can you do, Miss Belle?" She held her hands tightly in front of her dress. The words came out before she could stop them. "I'm too big to be loved," she said quietly, "but I can cook." The kitchen became silent. Even the wind outside seemed to stop. Daniel did not laugh. He did not look at her with pity. Instead, he opened the ranch door and moved aside. "I didn't ask if you were made to be loved," he said. "I asked if you needed a home." Clara stared at him. For the first time in many years, she had no answer. She stayed. That night, after the ranch hands had eaten, Clara washed the last iron pot and locked the kitchen. The moon hung over the empty land. Then she heard a sound. Scrape, scrape, scrape. Clara froze. Someone was outside the kitchen window. She slowly picked up the heavy iron pan. The scraping stopped. For a few seconds, there was only silence. Then Clara saw it. A muddy boot print appeared beneath the window. And beside it, in the dirt, was something even stranger. A second set of footprints. But these footprints did not lead toward the ranch. They led away from it. As if someone had been watching and had suddenly decided to run. The scream came from the horse barn just before midnight. Clara dropped the loaf of bread she was carrying and ran outside. Cold wind slapped against her face as she crossed the dark yard. The horses were kicking their stalls and making frightened sounds. "Easy," Clara shouted. Then she saw Daniel Reed. He was standing near the barn door with a lantern in one hand. His face looked hard and worried. "Stay inside," he told her. Clara did not move. A horse suddenly pulled against its rope. Clara rushed forward and calmed it with her soft voice. When she looked down, she saw something strange on the ground. A small piece of black cloth. It was caught on a broken nail near the barn wall. "Someone was here," Clara said. Daniel quickly took the cloth from her hand. His eyes changed. "Go back to the house." "But, Clara." His voice was quiet, but it carried fear. She returned to the ranch house, but she could not sleep. The fire had almost died when she heard Daniel leave again. Clara watched from the window. He carried a saddlebag and rode away under the moonlight. This time she followed him. She wrapped a shawl around her shoulders, took a small lantern, and climbed onto an old ranch horse. The night was cold and silent. Clara kept far behind Daniel as they crossed dry fields and past tall cactus plants. At last, Daniel stopped near a small wooden house. Clara hid behind a large rock. The door opened. An old woman stepped outside with a young boy beside her. Daniel gave them food from his saddlebag. Then Clara heard the woman speak. Mr. Crow came again. Daniel's face became dark. What did he say? He wants our land. He says we have until the next full moon. Clara leaned closer. Then a hand suddenly covered her mouth. She nearly screamed. A shadow stood behind her. Quiet, a man whispered. Clara turned and saw one of Daniel's ranch hands. What are you doing here? She asked. The man looked toward Daniel. Watching him, he said. Why? Before he could answer, a gunshot cracked through the night. The old woman screamed. Daniel pulled the boy behind him. Everyone froze. From somewhere in the darkness, a horse raced away. Clara ran toward Daniel. But when she reached him, she noticed something on the ground near his boot. A silver coin. Daniel picked it up slowly. On one side was the mark of a crow. And Clara suddenly understood. Someone knew Daniel was helping the family. Someone had been watching him. And now, whoever it was knew Clara was there too. The sound of horses came just after sunrise. Clara stopped kneading the bread and looked through the kitchen window. A line of riders was coming across the dusty land. At the front rode Sela's crow. Daniel saw them too. Get the ranch hands, he said. Clara wiped flour from her hands. What does he want? Daniel's face became serious. Trouble. Crow stopped near the ranch house. He wore a black coat despite the heat and had a cold smile on his face. I came for the land papers, he said. Daniel stepped forward. You will not get them. Crow looked around at the ranch hands. Think carefully, read. Some people know when to leave. His eyes moved toward Clara. She felt cold. After Crow rode away, fear spread across Broken Star Ranch. 2 ranch hands packed their things before noon. Clara watched them leave. Then she walked into the kitchen and stood quietly for a moment. Daniel entered behind her. You should leave too, he said. Clara turned around. No. Daniel stared at her. Clara, this is dangerous. So is having no home. He had no answer. By sunset, Clara was cooking everything she could find. Beans, bread, roasted meat, pies, and hot coffee filled the kitchen with warm smells. Daniel looked confused. What are you doing? Fighting, Clara said. The next morning, people began arriving. Nearby farmers, ranchers, travelers, and townspeople came to eat. Clara welcomed every person. When the long tables were full, Daniel brought out the old land papers and told everyone about Crow's lies. But suddenly, a voice shouted from outside. Fire! People ran from the house. Smoke rose near the barn. In the confusion, Clara saw a shadow slip through the open kitchen door. She did not stop to call for help. She grabbed a lantern and followed. The shadow entered the old barn. Clara moved quietly between the stalls until she heard paper rustling. Crow's man was there. The land papers were in his hand. Stop, Clara shouted. The man turned and ran. Clara chased him through the dark barn, knocking over a bucket as he climbed toward the back door. Just as he reached it, Daniel and 2 ranch hands appeared outside. The man was trapped. He dropped the papers. Crow's secret was safe no longer. But as Clara picked up the papers, she noticed something else on the ground. A silver coin with a crow carved into it. And on the back were 4 words that made her heart pound. The ranch is not safe. The silver coin lay in Clara's hand as the morning sun rose over Broken Star Ranch. Daniel looked at the message on the back. His face became pale. The ranch is not safe. Clara looked toward the open fields. What does it mean? Before Daniel could answer, a loud crash came from outside. Everyone turned. A rider was racing toward the ranch. Crow, one of the ranch hands, shouted. Sela's crow was coming back. Daniel quickly grabbed the land papers. Get everyone inside. But Clara stood still. She had spent too many years running from cruel words and lonely places. She looked at Daniel and shook her head. No more running. Crow stopped in front of the ranch house. This time he was alone. The whole town knows the truth now, Daniel called out. Crow smiled. Maybe, but truth does not matter if there is nobody left to protect it. He reached inside his coat. The ranch hands moved forward, but Clara suddenly stepped between them. Everyone stared at her. Clara held up the silver coin. This belongs to your man, she said. Crow's smile disappeared. She then showed the crowd another thing she had found in the barn, a small written note hidden inside the thief's coat. It proved Crow had planned to steal the land papers and frighten Daniel's friends away. The people around the ranch began whispering. Crow looked from face to face and understood that he had lost. He turned his horse and rode away into the dusty distance. For a long time, nobody spoke. Then Daniel looked at Clara. You were brave. Clara smiled weakly. I was scared. Brave people are often scared. Later that evening, the ranch became quiet again. Clara stood in the kitchen with her small bag beside the door. Daniel entered and stopped. You're leaving. Clara lowered her eyes. The trouble is over. You don't need me now. Daniel looked truly shocked. Clara, I never wanted you here only because you can cook. She gave a sad little smile. I know what people see when they look at me. Daniel stepped closer. I see the woman who stood when others ran, the woman who brought people together, the woman who made this lonely ranch feel alive again. Clara's eyes filled with tears. But I'm too big to be loved, she whispered. Daniel gently shook his head. That is the saddest lie anyone ever taught you. Clara looked up. I asked if you needed a home, Daniel said. Now I am asking you to stay because this is your home too. Outside, the ranch hands called for supper. Clara looked at her bag, then pushed it away from the door. A slow smile appeared on her face. She turned toward the stove. For the first time in her life, she was not cooking to earn a place at the table. She was cooking because she was already home.